Hi, I'm John Rabel, the founder of Launch, which is a legal and business advisory firm for small and mid-sized companies. And today I thought I'd talk about an issue that businesses run into that I think they can avoid pretty easily, which is terminating employees and some risks that come about with that. So there's a few steps I think businesses can implement basically immediately, and that will sort of limit some potential liability that they have around situations with terminating employees. So the first thing I think that should be a general practice for businesses when it comes to employees is making sure to keep records. So you want to document everything that is going on with the employee for the lifetime of their employment. That way you've got a solid paper trail of any incidents or anything that may have come up with them during the time they were working for you. That way, if anyone raises an issue, you can hopefully quickly produce some documentation that'll just put the issue to rest. The next thing that I think businesses want to think about when it comes to terminating employees is making sure you've got a valid reason. Of course, you can, most cases, terminate an employee for any reason as long as you're not violating some law in terms of terminating them for religious beliefs, sex, race, etc. But you really want to have a valid reason for terminating an employee and carefully document that. For example, they just don't live up to company standards or they can't perform the job duties that are required of them. Make sure you lay that out in writing and explain sort of the process that got you to the point where you're actually going to terminate them. The other thing I think that businesses can do, and this is really easy, but surprisingly a lot of businesses run into trouble here, is make sure you don't terminate an employee in public. You've got an office set up, multiple people may be working in cubicles or desks in an open space. That's not the ideal place to terminate an employee. Do it in a conference room or in an office where the door's shut and it can be more of a private conversation. It's a simple fix. The other thing I think you want to make sure that you can sort of do, if possible, is not terminate an employee one-on-one. Typically, you want to have someone else in there with you. Maybe that person's HR, or if your company doesn't have a dedicated HR person or department, think about some sort of administrative staff or another manager, supervisor, whoever the case may be, in the room with you when an employee is terminated. It's good to prevent sort of a he said, she said situation that could possibly arise. Terminated employee is going to be an emotional situation. So you want to be able to have sort of some additional support that can stand by and verify how that situation played out. The other thing you want to think about is how you're going to handle post-termination. And this is something that slips through a lot of businesses. They don't think about what they're going to do when the employee is gone, how they're going to handle all that. So a couple things to be aware of. One, you want to make sure to change any passwords or locks, whatever the case may be, that you're concerned the employee may still be able to access. You don't want them to be able to get into your files, your system, or any of that once they're terminated. Two, you're going to want to make sure you get back any company property. Ideally that would be easily done. They just sort of turned it over on their way out the door. But remote working's presented some new situations where people might have employee equipment or company equipment at home that needs to be returned. So you think about how you're going to get that company equipment back, and then think about how you're going to notify people that the employee no longer works for you. That could be internally, letting your other employees know that that person's no longer there. Externally, clients, customers that they may have worked with, let them know that that person's no longer there, no longer their point of contact. And additionally, who will be their new point of contact and how they'll be working with the company going forward. And then vendors, a lot of times an employee is the point of contact for your outside service providers. So you want to make sure they understand that person's no longer who the contact is and who they can reach out to when they're working with your company. And finally, you're going to want to make sure you get copies of all the info they had on their computer or personal devices, and then lock them out of email and things like that. So keeping a good paper trail with that as well. So I think those are a couple of issues that businesses can quickly implement that'll cut down on a lot of the liability they've got when it comes to terminating employees. If you've got any questions, feel free to reach out to me. J Rabel, that's JRAB as in boy, IL, at launchstrategylegal.com.